Hive. All right. This meeting is being live streamed. So, all right, let's just go ahead and let me check. I'm going to check YouTube, even though I said I wasn't going to.
Yeah.
We will check to make sure that the live stream's up, and then we'll just go from there. Welcome all, welcome in, welcome all, welcome in. If you're here. We're gonna play with some cosmic architecture. And now, of course, my internet's super slow. What's new? Let's see. Live. No. How do I view this? Let's go to my channel. Hey, there we are. There's one watching. Lori. Hi, Lori. Hi, Sarah Joe.
Hi, Lori.
Hi, hi, hi. Okay, cool. So we are live. We're good. We're solid. Welcome, everybody.
Cool.
For the sake of discussion, I'm not going to be focusing on the chat too much. I might weave in and out. Welcome, everybody, in. My name is Corey. And this is... Who are you?
Mel. Hi.
Mel. Hi, Mel. Hi, Mel. So, everybody...
Thank you for having me.
Yes, everyone, round of applause. Say hi, Mel. We are doing a little collective unraveling. So Mel and I happen to oh my gosh, what the heck happened there? Oh my gosh. Dude, okay, it popped. Hey, there we are. What the heck? There's one more. Okay, hold on.
Echo.
Hi, Lori. Oh my gosh, there we go. Okay. All right. There we go. Okay, so it was there. Okay. Technology, this is funny. I knew that was going to happen. I knew my universe was going to throw me a curveball. Okay, now where are you? Oh my gosh. Here we go. Back to me. There you are. Okay, so Mel and I do this thing where we like to unravel collective threads, and it's something that we do together, one-on-one, just as friends, and it's a passion of ours to kind of dive into our own narratives, but also to see how that coincides with the collective. And so we're going to come online today, where we're already online, and we're going to start unraveling some threads. We've both been witnessing certain themes, collective themes that are going on. So we're kind of finding a starting point with these different journeys that we're on, unraveling these threads and themes, and kind of just discussing. So I invite everybody to just kind of sit back and relax, okay? If you want to, get out a pen and paper. I guarantee there are going to be downloads through this. Mel is a very, very powerful energy worker, very powerful practitioner, a very skilled coder, and we're both extremely good at transmuting collective energy, whether it's to the detriment of ourselves or not. As a result, right, there's going to be downloads that are going to be coming through. We're working with source code. So as we're unraveling, we're also activating the newer DNA that's coming online. We're going to be working with our energetic systems. There will be collective transmutation that's occurring here. So guys, grab a drink of water, grab a pen and paper, relax, have fun. This is kind of like story time, a little bit like story time with Corey, but it's more, we're calling forward our Kali energy, as well as our creator energy, however that wants to be, to unravel, to deconstruct and reconstruct, to obliterate the old and welcome the new. So now that we're done with that little presentation, Mel, tell us a little bit about yourself, whatever you want to share that comes to your heart.
Oh, what about me?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a poet. I consider myself a mystic. I love diving the recesses of my own psyche and the cosmos. It's a passion of mine. So, yeah, it's like one of the things I think about all kinds of things, and I just allow the universe to speak. And like you said, work through those threads, because they're things that we're all going through and that we deal with in our daily lives, and how we can work through these in a more harmonious way that will benefit us in our future. So,
yeah. And the big thing about the deconstruction of these lines and these lifetimes and these storylines is also remembering that we do have to put the pieces together again of what this entails for us. And I feel like I have to state this internally as well as externally into the audience, is that take what's yours and leave the rest at home, right? Like, because what we have is we have two fractals of the diamond here that are sitting here pulling apart these themes and these narratives and having this discussion from our own unique perspective. I invite you, with anything we discuss, to find whatever your perspective is on the narrative or the theme that's coming forward for the audience members, right? Because what we're doing is we're diving into the way that we see things. And so this is just two perspectives, two fractals, two nodal points on the map coming together to share their perspective and to invite in a healthy level of curiosity as to why we do what we do, why we share what we share, why we believe what we believe. And I feel like that's a part of the consciousness sharing that Mel and I hold, is a lot of the alchemist of and we've talked about this, the scientist and the experiment all coinciding. And her and I, by the way, this can be pretty maddening if anyone's been through this, right? But diving into threads and storylines and tales and things like that, that just can be a little maddening. It's very easy to lose your mind in this. But what we do also, too, is we find peace within certain themes, certain collective narratives, and even in our own self. It's about returning to peace with who we are and why we consciously choose to do what we do, and why we consciously, past tense, chose what we chose that are affecting the future pathways that we're propagating for ourselves and for humanity as well. So I invite you to just listen with open ears and with an open heart, but also to remember that these are just two perspectives. Don't fixate to that this is the truth or this is the way it is, right? I want to empower everyone here to find their mastery within and to take their power back, to be able to invite in the recognition that if they hold a similar perspective, that's great, but you also can find what your value is in what we're discussing, right? So I want to do that and just ask us all to surrender all judgment, to let go, relax, have fun. This is just two creators creating and playing with magic and energy, right? But at the end of the day, too, it's a part of our expression. It's a part of our art. And I'm happy that other people are here able to witness how we share our art with the world in this way. Cool. So with that, Mel, where do you want to start? I'm gonna pass the ball to you, and it's up to you, wherever you want to take it, and we'll just go with it.
We had talked negative thought forms. We all have negative thought forms. These things pop in our heads, and they can go from either these negative thought forms are we created ourselves. It's our own mind telling us X, Y, and Z. We did this, and then says all the bad things about ourselves, or it's our parents, friends, family, whatever it is, they creep in, and it's learning to go and observe it when it pops in and you just think it's an unwelcome visitor that came knocking on your door. Okay. And you got to be very politely, well, not always, but saying, okay, I'm not taking visitors today. I see what you're saying. I hear you, but I'm not interested. And it's like, you have to repetitively get yourself in a, I don't want to say habit, but you're trying to retrain your own mind from falling into these spaces, which you spiral into, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's catching the thread and saying, okay, I hear you, I see you, but is it true? And you have to ask yourself, why do I think this? Why do I believe this? Is this somebody else that's telling me that I'm a bad person or I did something wrong? Or am I going in and shaming myself right now? And then it's following that and just being very reflective. Everybody talks about meditation, and you can meditate however works for you, but it's the reflection part. It's coming back within self and just sitting with whatever the thought form is, whatever the pattern is, whatever the emotion is, and sitting and watching the form and how it unfolds. And most times it'll just pass by. It'll be released. You don't have to fixate, you just observe it. So that's why it's like observation is really key, and just reflecting on these things and asking the hard questions. And sometimes like you'll tell yourself truths that are just, you don't want to hear, but we need to hear in order to get over or to resolve whatever conflict we're feeling from these negative thought patterns.
Yeah. Well, and that's been such a key with the amount of light quotient that's available on planet Earth right now, is that I'm noticing I'm hearing the subconscious more. And then I'm, even as we're expanding into our superpowers and our capabilities, right, is like also witnessing the collective themes. Like, when your antenna's up, right, and you can start to, if you really zoom in, you can hear the waveforms, you can hear the thought forms collectively. And the biggest one for myself is like, how much is I and how much is we at the end of the day, which is such an interesting perspective to have, is like, how much of this is mine, right? And now that I'm witnessing it flowing through, right, what do I do from it here? Trying not to attach to it. But I've also found that when the thoughts ping an emotional reaction or a physical body's response, that is a key indicator for me to pay attention to what it is and why it is what it is. Because the thing is I've even finding myself, there was this part of my process where there was this organic flow based upon the amount of light I held, right? So I do want to say this. When you start working with your light body, that the thoughts will become easier dependent upon the amount of light you're holding, right? And the more that we can create that space, right, to harness the sacred essence, to unify fully throughout the day, right, to make sure we are connected, I noticed that I don't fall into those thought forms, but I call them death spirals. So, and I've talked about it a few times on my channel, where I call it a death spiral. And it's like, really, if we're seeing ourselves at this like nominal state or baseline, we could call it a 0 point, right? And we have a descending staircase and ascending staircase. Is the thought form that I'm engaging in and interacting with creating the staircase downward into the pits of my own demise or despair, or whatever you want to call it, right? Or am I on that crystalline lattice network up, right, producing everything back into God thought? But I also find too that sometimes to gently allow ourselves the opportunity to descend the staircase, it also helps to fall further into the body, to discover and to relax into what these tendencies are and how they're held within the form. And I'm also we've been talking about electrical circuitry as well, and how much the electrical circuitry of the physical body also will create these sequences as well, right? And so the negative thought forms right now, it's very easy to get into a looping pattern, right? Especially with all the narratives that are flooding through the channels and through the airwaves. For instance, news, social media, right? How easy it is to get caught up in this, right? Where all day we're seeing the threads, right? Like, I mean, and it's one of those where the reason why I got off Facebook too, and because I caught a thread and we're just following it. The reason I got off Facebook is I would turn on Facebook, I'd be like, oh wow, we're still killing one another. Oh wow, we're still abusing one another.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, we're still manipulating. Oh no, we're still controlling. Oh, we still have divisiveness within the collective because we're in the debate, right? And it's one of those things where we also have to be mindful not only of the self-talk, like the internal talk, how we're speaking of ourselves when these thought forms are produced, but also how we are engaging with the collective thought, which is very much so kind of what we would refer to as a hive mind mentality, and why a lot of us step away from the collective and become the individuation and the individual. So we're not playing in the thought forms produced of others, or mind think, or group think, or collective think, because collective thought creates a cloud or a bubble where, and we were talking about this yesterday, and I'm glad we're here because maybe we can shift into this, is where collective groupings of self-help groups that meet with trauma, and then the engagement of the cloud or the collective field has this haze, this like brown, foggy, traumatic haze, and like why there's a reproduction of trauma or violence or abuse in those themes and narratives, because it's like the collective mind in that area is meeting at that place. And I find that that's what keeps a lot of those loops alive.
It's perpetuating it. Yes. Yeah. So it's like the more, it's just like, again, it seems like a simple term, but like what you focus on, that's where the energy is going to go. So it's like, okay, if I keep watching the news and I'm like a deer in headlights, that's going to keep showing up in my reality. the more, so it's like, it's switching and saying, okay, I see what's going on, but what can I do to create, or can I create a vision and find a solution, even if it's in my own, just my daily life. I don't have to go out and save the world. All I can do is save myself. You know what I mean? It's like you come back and starting here. But with the hive mind thinking and the collective, it's like, yes, it's great to be able to connect at some meeting point. We've gone, okay, but what are our solutions? What are the solutions now we're working with so that we can create and expand out of the trauma, that we're doing the collective healing, you know, within what we've all been through. It's not staying in that place. It's realizing, yes, these are situations that have happened, but it doesn't define me and who I am becoming. And every now moment I have a choice of how I'm going to start perceiving my reality. Do I want better? Do I want to believe that better can happen, you know?
Yeah. Yes. And the thing is that when it comes to like, to these instances too, right? Like, because I'm hearing collective division, right? Is like, we do need meeting places to unify, right? We need places where we can all meet together and say, hey, I'm feeling ass backwards today, or I've been guilt tripping myself, or, you know, I'm having a problem with my mom and dad, or, you know, but it's when we stay in the solution focus, right? Highlighting on the thread of what the solution is and the intention for the meetup, right? The intention for meeting in those group gatherings, right? Is it to heal? Is it to co-create, right? Is it to meet people? Being very mindful of our intention, which is also, I feel like that's such an important declaration for as we're engaging with one another in these group settings, is to make sure we're also peering into what our soul intention is for doing what we're doing, because that's going to create a lot of the knowing of what belief system is driving the field forward within the reality, right? Because like right now we are coming into a place where there's been a lot of division and a lot of strife, and now we're coming into the essence of community. I don't know if you felt this or anyone else in the collective is, but a lot of us have felt, I know some have felt separation. There's a few that are like, no, I need to be by myself. And there's some of us that are like, bang on community. Where's the community at? Where's the unity at? Where can we get together? Where can we talk about these things? Where can we find these solutions? And in a way where where we're meeting can prosper and flourish, and it's not going to collapse, right? Because we're noticing this eternal shakeup, the eternal quake that's occurring within the collective because of the grand unraveling, because of the collapse of these realities and the collapse of these structures. And so a lot of that too is especially if we're meeting at a place of, like, let's say we're working through victimization, we're working through trauma, is to make sure that those realities and structures don't collapse to keep perpetuating trauma cycles. Because we also have to look at the loop. We have to look at the cause and effect, or the causation for what is occurring within the programming or the behavior or the realm that we're navigating as we are coming into alignment with these community projects or self-help groups and things like that. And it's just something I wanted to make sure of, because the thing is if you don't empower your own mind, your own body, your own field, and your own space to produce an individuated thought that is connected to source, you can start taking on the beliefs, the patterns, and the thoughts of others and misrepresenting yourself as a source light or as creator consciousness, and kind of almost thinking in others' thoughts, which is interesting to even know that can occur. So it's also too, is we want to completely obliterate that level of like collective hive mind think or shared thought, and begin representing ourselves as the individuation and make sure that we are sharing the autonomous and individuated thought, and that we're not allowing ourselves to get scrambled or affected by the collective. And this is a part of our own mastery sequence, is how do we bathe and dive in the waters of the divine without being affected by ripples or collective shade or collective shadow or others, right? And so that's a big one I felt just needed to come through, especially in regards to that, because I know you and I, well, I don't know if you and I both did at the same time, but I was dealing with some collective hive stuff and psychic hive mind and psychic sharing of information that was like, it was a little too connected. And this is a part of us learning about our energetic boundaries and our energetic space. And I want to invite everyone here to hold their energetic boundaries too, please. You can be a witness of the magic without having to insert yourself karmically or to superimpose yourself into another's reality and into another's universe. And that's a style of detachment that I know the collective is all learning about, is how we can remain autonomous and sovereign within ourselves and share a field to hold hope or to hold clarity or hold truth without having this like everyone getting entangled in others' universes, right? So just something I wanted to mention and quickly shift out of while we prepare for the next. But if you have anything that pops up from that, let me know.
Yeah. What was I thinking? I think I dropped it.
Okay. Okay. It's good.
All right. All right. Where we go now? Where are we flowing to now?
Let's see. Collective. What message? What I just kind of asked the field. What are we pulling down and through? No. Power struggles. Power struggles.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Power struggles is an interesting one. Okay, collective empowerment. So just be mindful, guys. Balancing of polarities when we're engaging with one another or in collective realities, and how we hold a universal balance within the field. So I found this, that when we activate power, like, you know, we could call it God consciousness, we can call it our empowerment, our divine masculine, our electrical circuits, our active circuits, that power plays can be a thing. Because when we look at power dynamics, we can see that there is a way for two people to stand within their power, firm, neutral, and individuated in their empowerment. But there's also there's a lot of power struggle and power dynamics, especially if you have two or more people that have been disempowered at some point in time and are currently taking their power back. This is something I've been noticing in my own life and in others' lives. And it's how we can all stand in our sovereign power as the power dynamics play in the collective. Like, have you ever seen two people that need to be empowered and they can't back down, so they just fight each other the whole time? And that's something I've seen quite a lot, where you're like, at some point, someone almost has to be back down and back away to allow the person to stand fully in their power, and to stand in their knowing. And that's something that we see a lot, especially as we're trying to empower the collective of humanity and almost dissolve the old power structures and the old limitations of the power structures, right? And so this is what creates a lot of the firecrackers and a lot of the ignition points and a lot of the catalytic moments, is when the power's on and collective of humanity is taking their power back, and yet everyone wants to throw power at one another, which can start to turn into micro explosions. And I don't mean the physical representations of that, but I'm talking about arguments. I'm talking about how we're playing with polarity. And this is why it's interesting, because a part of holding the field is, I've found that when there are power struggles and power dynamics, that someone has to soften and go feminine while the other person stands masculine, or that someone needs to walk away to allow that person to be in their power. And this is something that we are gonna see as we are empowering the collective more and more. And this is why we see the collective like snow globe, you know.
And I think, though, it depends on, you know, how people perceive power as well. It's going back, like, what do I believe about power? Mm-hmm. How does power show up in my life? Is it showing up as being empowered, or is it overpowering? You know, most people, when they hear power, it's a trigger word, you know, that they're going into, I'm being oppressed, I'm being subjugated, this, that, and the third. Well, no, there's a difference of power, and it's standing, but it's a softer power. Like, it doesn't have to be full of anger, rage, or I'm trying to one up you. And that goes into these challenges. Like, why are we challenging each other? Like, this is old technology of war, and we're past that. We don't need I think, yeah. We're coming more to places where we can communicate our power in soft words, terms, by being able to, it's the expression. You have, in order to express that power, you can do it in a gentler way, still get your point across. If you have to be stern, that's fine, but you're not going and pushing another person in the corner saying, well, my way is the right way and your way is the wrong way. It's like, if we all know these things, everybody's perspective is different. We all see from a different angle and form. And it's just, if we can just go back and respect and say, okay, I appreciate your perspective on this, but we don't need to be, it doesn't have to turn to a conflict. We can agree to disagree. I can accept this as part of your reality. I'm not going to try to change your reality. And I would think that you wouldn't try to do the same with mine. You know, again, we're trying to get to a maturity as a collective. We've been these wounded children for so long that when these conflicts and things arise, that's where we're acting from, is that inner wounding, you know? So I think that it's another thread, the maturity thing, but so anyway.
Well, but in the maturation process, it's going to happen, the way I see it, it's going to happen in waves, right? And it's like, it's kind of like, as the grandfather steps up, the father rises up to the grandfather, the child rises up to the father, like it's an initiation point into transitioning to the next level of being a wisdom keeper. And you know, the maturation process is it's always going to be really dependent upon the soul's evolution. When the person's ready to be turned on to that level of knowing, right? But also that we have enough people collectively that can hold that level of maturation, because it is going to bring balance to things. But the thing, it's interesting, you know, what I saw was when it comes to what's going on, like you were talking about being backed into a corner, that's what 2020 and 2021 was for us. Collectively was, we were being backed into a corner. And have you ever tried to back a pit bull into a corner? What's going to happen? You know, we are wild and free souls. We're wild and free eternal souls. And when you back us into a corner enough, there is going to be a pushback frequency, right? And the thing is that, yeah, we can go, are we responding from a wound or whatever, right? But it's about whatever it takes for that person to take their power back, right? Because I've had my moments too where I'm about to shut down. And for the ever life of me, I've got to pull everything out of me to say no, or because I can't back down. Because it depends upon the lessons as well for every individual. Like, so for someone who was bullied a lot as a kid, maybe it's their time to stand up and to say something. For someone who's been oppressed, they need to stand up and say something. For someone who's never stood up for themselves, they now need to stand up for themselves. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, right, is someone who's super assertive. They might need to back down and soften. For the person that's usually on the attack, maybe they need to relax, right? Maybe they need to go take a bath and be at peace, right? It's really about where you're at in the stage of embodiment and what you need to be able to expand upon your limitations and to be able to also come forward and to confront your own programming, right? Because there is a soft balanced power, and we see this with the feminine archetype. And I've even found the power soften once Tonga erupted, right? So once we had the volcanic explosion, I was just talking to a brother about this morning. Once Tonga erupted, I felt a softening for myself. And it's like all of us that are connected to those solar lines or that are connected to the lava flow, right? Like Gaia had her eruption, and as a result, it's like we had a chance to soften as well. So we have to recognize that even in the balance of polarity, one volcanic explosion can actually soften the rest of the collective, because that's kind of the Gaian burp or the Gaian fart that is needed to release the pressure. That's Gaia taking a shift, right? So it's like it's also too, there's so much that ties into when that person is pulling their power back or pulling their power out, right? They're pulling it up and they're pulling it up is how much of that is feeding into the collective stream? How much of that is, how much weight are they exerting through their energy that's shifting out the collective? And it also is a trigger point for others to be able to stand in their power too. But we collectively, right, have been backed into a corner. And we're now standing up. And everyone's doing it in different ways. And so then the for myself is can we allow everyone to have their process? but also can we have the and I want to say intermediaries, like not to say that anyone should get in the way, but like there are also the councils, and I want to say it's like more of us that are like, hey guys, we don't have to do it this way, right? The collective, because we have peacekeepers out here that are like, guys, we don't have to respond this way. But also too, if you do, that's fine. No one's going to get in the way.
Right.
But it's also making sure how this transmits through the collective, how it affects the field, how it creates ripples and wobbles, and also discord plays into more discord. Chaos just ensues chaos. Like if we were throwing out a boomerang and you want to return on it, if you're throwing out chaos, you're getting more chaos. It's up to you to peacefully stabilize the return of that chaos. Right. And so, but it really is back to the collective thing is sometimes that's what it takes. I've seen so many people that the only way that they can rise in their power is they got to bite, whether it's healthy or unhealthy. That's what they needed. Right. That's what they needed.
Oh, and I've gone through that many times, of not being to fully express. And I was like a ticking time bomb, and then and it's like a volcano bursting out. But it's like, and I get that sometimes that is necessary for the individual in order to say, I'm not playing around anymore, or enough is enough, or you're overstepping my boundaries and things like that. And that's something I've worked through and have learned to soften and be more controlled as far as if not coming out of a reaction though. You know what I mean? So, but you're right. It still happens when it's necessary. It depends on the experience and the situation. But it's trusting yourself and knowing like, I'm going to stand up for what I believe in. And then, I don't know, I just see and saying, okay, and then just walking away. That's just kind of, I guess, how I'm seeing it right now.
Yeah, I'm seeing the same way. And I feel like that's because there's an introduction into a new way, right? That I feel like it's the 100th monkey effect, right? Once we get enough people on board, we will see a collective shift. And it's about really knowing within that, like, even myself, I don't know if it's the activation point of the remembrance or the soul gifts or the DNA, but there's a part of me that's like, I'm too old to deal with this shit now, right? There's this soul essence version of me, like I'm 33, I'm not too old to deal with this stuff, right? But like, there's this soul version that's like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired of this. Like, guys, do we really have to do this? We know better. Come on now, right? And like, and I don't know if that's the soul activation, the remembrance, the spark that's been happening because we've been going through a lot of DNA activations with sparking and igniting. But I feel like some of us right now, as we're awakening to more of the ancient self, the ancient self kind of will begin to override and overwrite the human narrative and go, come on, guys, we don't have to do this, right? Because even myself, it's the same. It's like, do I really want to go there? Like, that's back to qualifying your energy, right? Is it really worth it to engage with this? And for some people it is. Some people have a point to prove. Some people have something to share, right? There's going to be magic for them individuated in that moment, right? But some of us are feeling that like, just back away, not go there. I'm feeling the same, and I feel like it's just because, especially when we're dissolving a lot of the victim, a lot of the trauma, we don't want to reintroduce trauma cycles. We want to obliterate the programming from a place of peace, but also I'm recognizing the beauty of love as alchemy. Love being the alchemical tool, right? To shift out those narratives. And so, yes, it does seem like there is this ancient version of us that's coming online that's like, way too old for this shit, guys. Can we stop doing this? And I don't know if anyone else.
Yeah, it's the remembrance. It's the remembrance. It's like, you have that elder knowledge. I've seen this over and lifetime and lifetime and lifetime. And it's like, I don't want to go another cycle. I don't want to go another bout where we're still playing out these situations and storylines. And it's because through each lifetime, we've had the vision, we've dreamed of these better lives. We know what exists beyond it. We're creating it, whether it's in dream state or whatever dimension you're working through. You're creating these worlds and trying to anchor them. So it's just like, I get it. You're just like, I'm going to go mind my way and I'm going to go play in my world. But again, it goes back to like when we were talking about, when you look at these situations and our reality, it's a game. It's just one big game. And we can all look at it and actually have fun with it and play with it and explore and go on these little treasure hunts. We're trying to find ourselves. We're collecting pieces and all these little gems. Or we can play into these other destructive stories and things like that and be like, oh, I don't like my life. I hate what's going on. This. And then we're back into the all over the joint, you know? Yeah. So it's, at the end of the day, it all comes down to perspective, how you are seeing it and what you believe. And I question my beliefs all the time. And because what I believed yesterday, it doesn't work for me anymore, you know?
Well, and I agree. Like myself, there's some things, because I went through a phase of my journey where it was, everything was the program. Got deprogram, you know, change the belief system, change. And I changed so much that I got further and further from what my truth was. Because I was always changing and bending at the expense of other people. The only way you could feel comfortable with Corey is if I change this. And it got to a point that I was like, wait a minute, if I'm no longer like, so if the central hub of the universe is this Andara and I'm over here constantly having to change for the central point, how do I shift the narrative to where I'm the central point, not from an egoic way, right? Not from an egoic way, but where, because that's the shapeshifter energy, the people pleasing energy. I will change to make you comfortable, until it finally got to the point where I was so uncomfortable with who I was that then it was like, F you, I'm going to stand in my beliefs. And also recognizing too that like, if we're trying to gain approval from one another or from the collective or from some way shower that you see on YouTube or a teacher or a parent or a guardian or a mentor, whatever you want to call it, right? That we want to solidify who we are. And at some point, yes, give yourself the opportunity to change, but also stand in what your value system is and to hold it. Because I still encounter this as I'm going through this process, is like, I'll find myself going, oh, I need to change this. And it goes, fuck you. No, I don't. No, this is who I am. And like, that's another empowerment place. That's another empowerment piece. It's your sword of truth, right? Standing here. This is my truth. Thou shalt not cross. You know, if you align to it, cool. You don't have to fight this belief system. You don't have to fight this program. And that's been a really key one about the sword of truth, and honoring that is harnessing that to say that this is my truth, but also to give myself the opportunity to be humble and to remain teachable as well. Right. So it's like this delicate balance of standing in the mastery of who you are, but also knowing that you're still in a journey of expansion and evolution. And as a result, there are moments where those belief systems will shift and change. And for myself, this was brought up by a way shower that I know is playing with no belief. Play with no belief. Have no belief system. Allow yourself to flow and to emerge from within. Right. Like give yourself the opportunity to witness others' beliefs, right? Others' things. But also when the mind kicks up into high gear, like when we're going through the big magnetic shifts and we're going through magnetic reversals, right? All this stuff starts to go, is then not allowing this to dictate the reality. We don't want to judge it or become the enemy of the mind, which is a lot of the transcendental stuff. I see transcendental stuff, or at least my viewpoint and perspective was like transcendental meditation and transcendental work was basically the human mind sucks. Keep the heart, right? And it's like, no, this is if I'm going to be playing in an integrated universe, this thing needs to become my friend. It needs to be my friend. And so as a result is like maybe friending it, right? Playing with mind again. When was the last time we played with mind?
Yeah.
You know,
I'm in my mind all the time. I mean, that's how I create. That's how I journey. You know what I mean? And the more and more that we talk and I get a broader perspective on the collective, that I didn't realize that many people were like, oh, the mind, like it was a bad thing. And I'm like, so I'm seeing that now. And I question why that is. Why has that come about? Is it because we attach the mind to the ego? And we say that we just, mind and ego, they're the same. And, we're always focusing on these other aspects. But the mental plane is very important because that's where form comes in. And that's how we create form before it drops into our realities. So it's like, again, it could be a prison or whatever world you created. So it's learning to befriend your mind, you know? I mean, I just don't see it that way. I don't know if you can explain that further, like that collective thought, because that hasn't been part of my experience.
Oh, about the mind as enemy?
Yes.
Okay. So a lot of it has to tie with mind control. So it's interesting because there is a body component to this, especially when we're speaking of epigenetics. Okay. So epigenetics means it's the blueprint of us, coming down into form, where it's the initial response to environment, right? So like think about if we are to say the word, I have to be mindful because we're on YouTube. Butternut squash, right? We're gonna say butternut squash. So we say butternut squash. All right. Thank you, babe. She's the one that I think dropped in butternut squash. We were talking about squash already. Butternut squash. Okay. So butternut squash, it's going to produce a feeling within you, right? And the thing is to recognize for ourselves that when it comes to the mental processes, right, that our mind has been used against us. And as a result, I was always at a war with my mind, right? Because my mind, being from, diagnosed depression, bipolar type 2, all these things, schizophrenia even, right? It's like, oh, don't listen to your mind, don't listen to the friends in your head, don't listen to the peanut gallery, this thing is against you, right? And it was a narrative that I created for myself. Now, how that ties in collectively or into this transcendental thing, right, is that, so it takes me back to Alan Watts. Alan Watts talks about the ascending staircase of the higher self, that as we ascend, so does the mind, right? And so as a result, we have to be mindful of the trickery and the deception of the mind and how the mind can begin to basically kind of mimic the higher self, mimic the soul, mimic this to basically, it's like, since our mind, okay, so now I'm being taken here, is we have to look at the mind like a quantum processor, right? That it is processing data. And so a part of us working, because something's just saying dive into the solution here, is like, and this is back to, once again, the neural rewrites, right? Activating new neural pathways, creating new thoughts is, and this is why it's important for the when it comes to the diamond light cohesion, right? So us working cohesively with the diamond light, with our column, right? But also the diamond light of the mind, which is like the multidimensional mind, I guess you could say, or the higher mind consciousness, God mind, working with the Godhead. That all of these perspectives, like, and this is why you and I do what we do, is the new perspective offers a new neural pathway, which gives us new thought, which opens up new doorways, new opportunities to hear, new opportunities to see, new opportunities to do in a different way. And so we have to see this thing as a giant quantum processor. But as a result, as we are cluing in to how the mind works with the body's consciousness and with the heart consciousness, we have to allow the mind to open up and to relax fully, to be able to just allow it to process without having, because my mind always held on to something, right? Like, Corey, you're an asshole. And it would just like hold on to that. And it would just like, it's like Corey was on the monkey bars, like Corey's an asshole, shaking my body, like, oh my God, I'm an asshole, and living in that thought, right? Because that itself produced an opportunity that created the adrenal switch to kick off. Corey's adrenaline starts fighting. He goes into fight and flight. And I don't know if anyone's had a lot of adrenaline. Adrenaline feels good, right? So like, look at adrenaline junkies, right? Look at adrenaline junkies. Look at people that are jumping out of airplanes and are doing push-ups, right? Oh, sweet motivation. Anyway, so it's one of those things where, for myself, to be able to see it as a processor and doing what I can to let go of the mind loops or to not attach to thought has been the biggest thing. And so for myself, it's been now introducing different things into my diet and different things into my day-to-day life that allows the mind to relax, right? Like, so this is where we start to see breathing techniques, meditation, yoga, exercise, magnesium. If you want to go into plant medicine, doing plant medicine. I know alcohol has been helping some people too. What we want to do is we want to free up space within the body to allow it to, like, it's like creating a void space, a gap to be able to receive what the higher light mind is versus attaching to the lower thought form mind. So it's making sure that throughout the day I'm creating gaps in my routine to like put the phone away. Just go sit outside and stare at the sun, right? Breathe in and listen to nature, tune into Gaia, tune into the elementals, the organic stuff, work with the imagination, right? Take a moment to just drift off and stare at the stars at night, right? You want to create that gap, meditative mind, to be able to relax into what it is to be present with the consciousness of the body and conscious of the heart too. So it's been for myself as I've been going through a lot of the war with the mind or a lot of the narratives and have been unplugging more and more, especially as we're looking at AI systems, all the different energies that we can start talking about, the third dimensional systems that can attach to mind. It's really being mindful about the breathable space in between and within my routine that can offer me an opportunity to fully unify with self. You know, so for myself, I've been living up here. I had been living up here for a while. And then I started to live here, and then I started to kind of coordinate between the two. And at the end of the day, it's not about fighting the mind, but witnessing the mind.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is that alignment of, you know, once you've built your rainbow bridge between your left and your right hemisphere, and you're now they're working. And I think many people still haven't made that full connection. You know, they're always in the left, which is those mental thought processes where we get looping, where we're, you know, so fixated on those things. But like you said, dropping in, you know, to our right or whatever by doing, and anything's meditative. Like I'll sit there and I'll braid bracelets just because it's a repetitive thing that my body's doing. And it allows my brain, my mind to just kind of shut off, and you relax into that. But like you said, many of us are now really aligning and having that coherence of the mind, body, heart, soul. You know what I mean? And it's all working as it should. We're not disconnected from it anymore, you know, and you're constantly in that frame.
Well, and the thing too about harmonizing the mind and the body for myself is I've had to learn how to laugh at my mind. Like, has anyone gotten to the point of twisted in their own lives where like they hear something and they laugh at it? Like you have that twisted thought and you just start cracking up. And that's been really an interesting part of magic and remembrance that I've been working through is the transmutation properties and the transfiguration properties of laughter. And like how these things that used to be so like disastrous to the mind, some of them still do weigh heavy on my heart when I hear them. Some of them I've learned to laugh off, and I have some really cool twisted sisters out there that have helped me with like really embracing the weird, right? Like, and for myself, it helped a lot to be able to like hear these things and crack up about them. And for me, it's about witnessing the folly of the human condition, and that's a lot of my thanks to my Elven family for bringing that forward. Is the Elven family really much so is introducing how we can laugh more at some of these thoughts and things that are produced, right? Because the biggest thing is this, is that right now why mind is has been such a focus for me in embodying like loving my mind again is because when we look at, okay, we're about to go here. Brainwave states. Okay, brainwave states will affect our physical body's processes when we look at alpha, beta, theta, delta, gamma, the embodiment of our light quotient, but also the spin rate of our cellular structure, and that a lot of the access point and subjugation was occurring through brainwave states. So let's look at the variations of things that are streaming through the collective. Delta, theta, alpha. Why is it called a brainwave state? Why are they naming these things as a brainwave state? Well, we're looking at, first off, you know, I know it has to do with our electrical systems. I know it has to do with our DNA. I know that all of this coordinates the mind-body-soul connection. And so for us, like even recently, it's about stepping off like the hyperdrive of the mind and like really slowing down into the peace of the mind and really trying to access those calm states because in those calm states for myself, I can think clearer. I have a higher level of discernment, but also when it comes to what's going on in the world, these false flag things and these things that occur from reactions. So whatever I can do to limit myself to be reactive and just step into the tendency to mindfully walk through the door, mindfully proceed about my day, which is thinking Mercury retrograde. I think Mercury retrograde itself is helping to slow down with that. It's the opportunity to pause and to go within, and rather than just saying yes right away or engaging right away, is taking a moment to go, I'm going to sit on that. I'm not going to say yes, right? So I have to pause on the response as well to make sure that I'm respecting myself and respecting my child, which is important. That I'm not engaging with the program, that I'm not responding from a wound, because I've dealt with enough implosions in my reality, right? And those trigger points that occur where I know that I can have a softer, easier reality. And I feel like that's what a lot of that feminine energy is opening up to, is the softer, easier reality. And so for myself, making sure that it's not only just the mind, but it's the physical body circuitry, it's the rhythms, the biofeedback, all of those things is, what frequency am I holding or accruing from within? Because within those brainwave states have been access points, and it's to do whatever I can to soften into peace and love for myself. So when the fear shows up, it's like, oh, I see you, rather than, because have you ever been in a heightened state of awareness, or what we call like a hypervigilance, and a fear program goes through, and it's just like all of a sudden it's like, tense, run, we need to run away, softening into that neutrality, I can witness the fear and be like, oh yeah, I see you, but I have conscious choice to not believe you today. And that's been a lot of the new self-talk, is when these things come up, no, I'm not saying, I'm not agreeing to that, overriding it. Not playing with it anymore, but it does take the integration of the soul to be able to do that as well. So it gets easier the more you integrate your light and you integrate all of your aspects, it gets easier. So yeah, so this has been a big one. I've just seen, once again, it's like I feel like the war on the mind was occurring because there was a war on the mind, right? There's a lot of us that dealt with manipulation and dealt with mind control, and dealt with things like different, and basically it's like it's responding to chemicals, right? Like it's suppression of our DNA has been going on for a while, and we're all awakening to that, food wise, substance wise, collective miasma, collective trauma. It's something that's been coming up. I did a video on it, and I'll upload it later about this more. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's like I feel like for a while we had to like bypass the mind to go to the heart because it was such an easy subjugation point. But now I'm finding more of us are recognizing the importance of the mind, and really finding the because especially when it comes to like sacred mathematics, science, arithmetics, like, and all of us, how that awakens into us as a star family, us at our galactic levels, like the mind has a role here. And so for myself, I mean, my first name on YouTube was Thought Soldier, and it was like, we're in a war. It was like, basically, it's like, we're in a war of the mind and we're going to win, right? And it's like, and now it's about befriending the mind for me. So I'm not really tuning into anything collectively about that for whatever reason right now. It felt more just kind of like individuated and individual.
No, that was good. But again, it always comes from the individuated state. Like, yes, we are part of the collective, but at the end of the day, it's always about coming back here and checking in with who you are individually. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings outside of everything else? Because when you're sitting in your own space, are you really hearing yourself and your soul expression? Are you hearing the collective? And the more of us that we can do this, like you said, the 100 monkey effect, it ripples out into the collective, and it's like bing, 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 bing. Everybody starts turning on, I don't know.
That's an interesting one I want to dive into with you.
What's that?
The turning on point. We were talking about this the other day. The collective ignition of remembrance. And I want you, or if you feel the call to share a little bit about that, about where we've been Yeah, because I hear some threads coming up regarding, but how the past life remembrances have been accruing in your own life, and what the ignition point of awakening has been recently, because there's been a lot of sparking in regard to that. And if you feel called to talk about it, I'd love to hear about it.
Sure. Yeah, because I was thinking about that the other day. So, and again, it at the time, I just assumed many people were already aware of this and they were already having these experiences in a lot of ways. But it's like, so we're activating and we're remembering I had a past life here, you know, and we'll use the usual one. I had a past life in Atlantis, Lemuria, ancient Egypt. Again, they're trigger points, or I should say sparks, activation points. For me personally, being a storyteller and a poet, and the reason that I write like that is because there's codes. When you go back into these myths and these stories, and myths and stories were always passed down generation and generation because they held the essence of the tribe, of the family. So when we went into written with, and you can tell, you know, just the Bible, most of our history has been rewritten. There are truths, but then there are untruths. And as you delve into these things, you'll get pings. Your body knows there's a remembrance. There is a deep resonance that activates your molecular structure. So it's helpful. So if I'm getting a ping on, like when I first started awakening, everything came through numbers, and I started working with the Chaldean numerology, which is very different. A lot of people don't use that. Well, I have past lives, you know, I know those texts. And that's where my universe had me start working through in order to read energy. Then I'd get like a word or a phrase, and it would have to do with telecommunications, quantum physics. And I would go and I would do the research. I would spend hours just researching whatever my universe was trying to show me, because it's my higher self having me remember. I'm activating myself through this process, through reading these stories, through reading the history, because we live those lives. We left codes for ourselves. We left keys back there, and you're going back and you're retrieving them. And I want to point that we'll have memories, and most times we think it's past lives, but it's a lot of times it's future. It's parallel. They're other dimensional, you know? So that's where the memory thing kind of gets a little strange. But I would encourage anyone, if you are receiving these little activations and you may not understand it. Like, I don't fully understand telecommunications and all of quantum physics on a human level, but I know there's an aspect of myself, either future or another dimension, that is working with this technology, that is working with this information, that is the physicist, just like I am and was the alchemist, you know? So it's delving in and doing that research and follow the thread, because you're awakening your own remembrance. Many of us, like, yes, you can go to other people and have activations and help with, you know, building and constructing your light body, and things like that. But everything is within you. We hold so much information, so much data, but it's just finding the ways and listening to our higher selves, listening to deep down in our soul and tell what our soul's trying to tell us. Everything you are asking and you are seeking, you will show yourself. And it's trusting that, and it's trusting those things.
Yeah, and trusting where it takes you to, because I've noticed my sparks of remembrance have been random. And what I did,
random.
It's very like, so I had one the other day where I remember being a blacksmith, and it's like kind of like forged in fire. I see the sword and I'm sitting there banging out a sword, right? And I'm like, whoa, like wait a minute. And I followed the thread for what it means in this now moment, and it unlocks some sort of sacred technology or like something I could create, right? And as a result, I was like, I followed the thread and I saw where it went, and I was like, this is really cool. This is exciting. I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. And it's like, no, yeah, you do. Yes, you do. Put all the tools in front of you. I promise you'll know what you're doing, right? And that's a lot of the thing too, is like when it comes to a lot of this stuff that's been coming up with science, with math, and with building, I feel like if we're sat down in front of the right resources, our soul will overtake the process and will show us what we need to know. And for myself, it's about allowing yourself. Can you allow the human to let go enough to let yourself follow that wave, right? So if you imagine it as a wave, right, a current of energy exchange that's coming through, it's like, can you just ride that thing to shore wherever it's going to take you, right? Because it will unlock something. But we have to let it flow. And this is back to when it comes to cellular memory, is some of these things that come up, especially when it comes to traumas, past life traumas, is the body goes, nope, nope, nope. And it's like, we need the body to respond, yes, this is a good thing. This is memory. This is awakening. This is ascension. Let's not condemn it, blame it, shame it, guilt the body or the form for having this memory. Even if you're like, oh my gosh, like I remember being a wizard on a spaceship, and I know that, like, I know that I was a part of, it's like, you're not, fool, you're not crazy. Yeah, you are a wizard. Yeah, and you are on a spaceship. It's called, and I'm, at the end of the day, though, it's about following these threads, because right now there's a lot of gifts that are witnessed within them, right? And we want to make sure, like, we've got new modalities that are coming online for people. Yeah. We've got people that, I'm being shown ancient Egypt right now, hyperspace technology. If people want to talk about the med beds and that stuff, that's all its own thing. I want to remind everyone, we are the med bed. You have, it's called your light body, and it's called your body. You're right. Your body is intelligent and intuitive, and it can take care of itself. Now, we're still getting up to the point where it can replace limbs, right? Like, so if like something happens, right, like you'll be able to regrow that, right? But that's, once again, down to belief system. Okay. But there's people that have quantum technology stuff that's coming online. Ancient builder races. We're in the year of the builder, right? So a lot of that stuff is coming online. And I invite you to find a way to be able to listen to yourself, to what's coming forward, but allow yourself to follow that thread and that narrative wherever it goes. So for myself, divination has helped. I know scrying helps some people. I know you work with scrying a little bit, if you want to talk about scrying with that. Scribing too, like automatic writing, helps to get these things down. For me, it helps me to talk about it. And I've had these moments
recording of too.
Yes.
Like recording. Like, I mean, I've got books and books and books, and maybe one day I'll do something with it. I have no idea. But, that's just filled with sacred geometry and alchemy and all these things. It's because I remember that I did these things in past lives. I have all this knowledge, and it's bringing it forward, because we can, everybody thinks like magic, it's all woo-woo and da-da-da-da-da. No, there are practical ways that we can utilize these gifts and abilities. It's not all just like, and it's what I wish to encourage is, it's like we're stepping into new ways of seeing, believing, and thinking, and it's seeing it through the eyes of a child, of that awe and wonder. Every step you're just like, oh, there's another piece of me. Woohoo! There's another piece, and it's like, it's getting excited about life. Getting excited about your life again. And the amazing part, it doesn't come from an outside source. It comes all from within. And that's the magic. At least for me, that's the excitement and the passion and that soul flame that just wants to burst out. And you can feel it, and you just sit and you resonate with it and allow it to just show you whatever it is about yourself. Good, bad, or indifferent. It's still beautiful.
Yes. Well, and this is, I can feel I just caught a collective thread here. So I'll talk about this, is like, what reignites our passion for life again? right? And this ties into that because you're like, be passionate about it. And I felt myself kind of go, and I'm like, oh, we're hanging on to something. So I know I got some of this that goes on, right? And we have to, first off, knowing that when we have our lulls, we have our moments of void, you're okay to experience that. If you're not waking up every morning and going, I witnessed the magic, yay! Hey, you're okay, hon, right? If you're not waking up every morning just going, oh God, I want to be here. I will tell you this, to be completely honest with you. 9 times out of 10, I wake up every morning and I go, damn, I'm here, right? But what I do is I go out and I go, I'm grateful to the sun. I'm grateful to Gaia. I'm grateful to the stars. I'm grateful for my body. Because once again, it's like, I have to challenge these belief systems, right? Because right now we're in a mass transition. There's a lot of people that are tired, right? We're going through mass exodus. People are leaving constantly. I mean, and it's one of those things where there's a lot of us that are the star seeds that are tired. The indigos are like, we've been through this, man, and we're so tired, right? And so this is back to that thought form and the thought process, right? Is like, we also too need to begin rewriting our neural circuitry by beginning to start commanding those things into being, right? Those mantras. I am grateful for the sun. I'm grateful for this morning. I'm grateful for this breath, right? And a biggest one is being appreciative for everything that's going on. Like when I'm deep in the shit going, thank you. But it's not from a place of thank you. It's from like, oh, thank you. This really hurts, right? Oh, like I'm going through this right now.
Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I know it serves a purpose.
Yeah.
I know. But I hate you right now.
Yeah, I hate you. But at the end of the day, it's about what's going to reignite passion for life again within all of us, right? And sometimes it requires something external of you, right? And I found this myself. I thought, I wish that I could say that I'm so all-knowing that I can activate everything from within and that my joy is found within. Yeah, I agree with that at a very logical level because other New Agers say it and I've clicked subscribe. But there are things still within my reality that requires something external to activate that point of remembrance. And I want to state that for others because I've found this before, is that sometimes when we have a frequency that we've been far disconnected from or far removed from, especially when it comes to our ancient DNA and our ancient code, is sometimes it takes to awaken the memory to actually have either a physical conversation with someone or to go to a sacred site and touch a stone, right? Like if anyone's been to Egypt or if anyone's been to any of these places and you go to the sites, you go there and there's something within the essence that awakens the memory. That's why a lot of us travel and do the grid work stuff is because we're there to activate those memories and codes. Sometimes it's meeting a person, right? Sometimes it's getting a hug from a soul family member, right? Because the codes are going to activate and spark on and trigger off what that is. Even myself, I'm currently in a process right now where it's like I was told that there are certain family members I have to meet because once we hug, Corey's going to get the shake and bake and get the activation. And it's like, as much as I want to say, oh, it's just within me and cool, it's also too is that sometimes external stimuli can help that process, but we don't want to give all of our power away to everything in the external when the internal reality is one that's creating that, right? But so it's a weaving, it's a balance of point. It's about what's going to create the bridge back to that memory, especially in regards to feeling passionate about life again, because I can agree that there's a lot of starseeds and a lot of indigos that are really tired right now. And then it's about what is going to bring that passion for life again and that spark, right? What is going to bring that miracle back again, or that desire to live? We have to create that, right? And I'm hearing the song by Switchfoot. It goes, we were meant to live for so much more, right? But the thing is too, is back to this stuff of the solutions, right? Is that a lot of the problems that we are seeing, a lot of us as starseeds, as indigos, as ancients, as whatever you want to call it, as gods, as immortals, as eternals, right? Hold the solution. But we need everyone to show up with their solution.
Yeah.
We need people to show up.
I want to talk about like what you said with the tired and exhausted, and I totally understand that. I think it's coming back again to a place where it's like, where am I giving my power away? Where am I just giving all my love? Where am I emptying my cup yet not refilling it for self? So again, it's looking at your energy exchange. What are you exchanging out? Is it coming back to you? you know? So many people are so tired because they're overextending themselves. Like, I need to heal this person. I need to fix this person. I need to do this. I'd have to. You don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
Just be. But you have to come back to self, because if you keep giving, you can't function. You can't function. You can't do the work that you're doing because you are constantly throwing your energy away to people. So it's coming back and being very mindful. Where are you putting your energy?
Yeah.
Who are you exchanging your energy with? You know, that's that. There's all those things. And what are you giving your energy to? And being very mindful. And again, that loops right back around to the technology, the news. What are you eating? I mean, it all circles back, all these things. So it's just coming, and you don't have to do them all at one time. Pick one thing and say, okay, I'm going to create and do something new with this. And that's your starting point. And then you just keep building from there to make a better, wellness, overall wellness for self. But there's a misconception that we're being selfish, but it's not. Because if you have nothing to give because you're so exhausted, you have to give back to yourself. You have to give that love. You have to give that support, and build that foundation within, so that when you are going out and doing this work that we are all doing, you're not depleting yourself. And the minute that you see that you're exhausted, give yourself the time to rest. Tell yourself, I need to step out. Tell the friends or the community or the collective, I'm not working today. I need to step back and regenerate here. And a lot of us are not giving ourselves that space to regenerate. I know you do it.
Especially for those of us that we don't stop working, right? Like, it was only until recently where I was like, damn it, soul, you're staying here. We're not doing anything. I started saying no to everything. Like, what people don't recognize is, like, for people like us that are working through collective processes or are shifting traumas, right, is like, there are frontline workers that are doing work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week that can't always show up, right? And so at some point too, we have to go, the empowerment point for the collective and for everyone watching this is, you have source, you have a God, you have a higher self, you have other dimensional versions, right? You can create that connection. And we no longer, as like, because that was a big thing with Chiron and the healers, right? Is like, I'm the most important healer in the world and I have to heal everybody because that's my job. It's like, no, you don't. Frankly, you're here for soul evolution, which is to follow your process. If that's a part of your process is to heal the entire world and to go through that, great, right? You don't have to, though. It's not a part of the light worker initiation to go save the world, unless that's something you have to, right? But like, the saviordom and the Christ complex and all those distortions is something that we all navigate once we awaken to this consciousness, and we hit that 5D gap. And that's a lot of the point where we cap, is because it's like, it's like we have to dissolve that, right? But also too is to also, for some of us, to recognize that, and to begin to recognize for some of us that your universe can support you in a place of being and doing nothing. Because I've noticed that, especially if you've got a lot of runner in you, or a lot of masculine energy, or a lot of distortion, right, in that, or a lot of hypervigilance, that coming into a place of being is a really uncomfortable place, right? And this is where a lot of the feminine helped me, because that was you can slip into the void, go into Sophia, go into the sacred womb, go into the eternal. And I had women that were like, go there, they were like, literally pushed me off the edge, and I'm like, oh, here I am, I'm in liminal space, what am I doing here, right?
What do I do?
And my universe made sure I got that medicine when I needed it, by like, and this is what will happen too for a lot of people. Why don't I have clients, right? Why isn't anybody calling me? Because no one needs to be calling you right now. It's like, it's not always something wrong with you, or that there is some sort of defect within you. Is maybe you're meant to be in a place of being right now. And that is how can we get the body to fully relax, to fully open up to receive, right? But it's us, a part of unifying with this is, when do we become the active when do we become the magnetic? When are we the star of the show? When are we the passerby? When are we the seer, the doer, the beer, the observer, right? And we've got so many different labels on this. It's just about really, and this is why it's important for all of us to build our connection back with self, is because the connection with self is what's going to tell you what to do. You can hire a reader. You can go to foundersoflight.org and you can get a reading from me, but I'm not going to tell you anything differently than you already know. It's just, are you taking the time to go within and to create that knowing? Everything that you and I do is nothing different or strange. It's actually what all of us are capable of doing. It's just about building that connection with yourself and trusting yourself. Trusting yourself again, which is
and
something.
Trusting the universe.
Yes.
Your universe is always supporting you. There are other kingdoms supporting you. And again, it's coming back to that still point and just listening, just observing. And you'll get the signs and the synchronicities, you know?
Yeah.
But that's our biggest thing as humans. We have a hard time trusting. Yeah. And that's a good question to always come back. Well, why don't I trust? And usually we don't trust ourselves.
No.
And that's why we don't trust anything else.
Well, and this is the gift of us building back our discernment. Right? And that's a big one as we're taking this collective plunge and we're rewriting a lot of things, right? Diving into the oceans of the divine to know, can you trust yourself again? Can you support yourself? Can you feel supported? But also, can you gift yourself the opportunity to refine your discernment? And then the question point 2 being, what would it take for you to refine your discernment, right? Is there someone that you can talk to? Is there classes you need to take? That's why these resources exist. Is there something you need to change in your diet, right? How's your gut flora? The seat of your intuition, right? Like let's look at all those things. Can we start to do fasting, right? How can we begin to experiment with sharpening our tool of discernment? But and that's a key one, to know when you're starting to overexert yourself for the betterment of humanity, and as a result, your body, because I went through this, and I've talked about this process a lot. We got to the point where, especially with transmutation of the collective energies, how much it started to riddle my spine. I started to work through all the physical body's processes, which is like back to nature and nurture. Is the essence of this, is coming back to, now that we are working in the realms of energy, and the collective is going to wake up to these things more and more, that everything is energy, that we have light bodies, that we have DNA, that we have souls, right? And that we believe that, whether they choose to or not, is how can we now begin to qualify the essence of nurture within our own lives to be able to allow the transformation to continue? Because anytime we try to stop the transformation, the universe has to send an equal, balanced force to break through that resistance. And that's a lot why our physical body breaks down, is because we're still holding the resistance. And it's like, if you're holding with 10,000 pounds of force, the universe is going to deliver 10,001 pounds or more of force to break that shit free, if that's what you need to learn and to evolve. And we're seeing this a lot. This is that humanitarian wake-up call that everyone's going through. Why am I in bed? Why is this happening to me? Why am I sick? What? Your universe has been sending you the signal to slow down for a really long time, but we chose not to listen. Right? So we have to create that stillness within ourselves and become observational of what God's source light, Goddess source light, whatever you want to call it, is sharing with us in every night, because our universe is constantly sending us the messages, and our body is too. It's just, are we listening? And I think that's the point we're getting to as a collective, is, are we listening not only to what's going on in the world, is the world listening to us, right? Are the higher ups listening to us, right? But is also, are we hearing the clarion call? And are we listening to our sixth sense that's sharing with us in every now moment what we need to do to correct our lives, or to practice better wellness, or to come into wholeness or oneness? You know, so it is about building back to the telecommunications. Is it's not only those external or those etheric communications, but it's about the communication with self and being that bridge of your own heart, your own matter, your own formless from within, and allowing that expression to tell you exactly what it needs in every now moment, and to know and trust that it's perfect for you right now.
Absolutely. I agree.
Key. Oh, well, Melissa, Mel, I think we're at the hour mark. Do you want to keep going or?
It doesn't matter. It's totally up to you. Do you have any? Is there any? You hearing anything else in the field?
I'm not. I'm just aware. I'm mindfully being aware of my own energy, how much I've gone through today, what we're working through in the collective, and what I have to do for the rest of the night. So I'm more qualifying the. I feel like I'm doing that for the collective as well, as to give people opportunity. You don't have to go 6 hours, Corey.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you for showing up and for expressing yourself.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. How can we find you? If anyone wants to find you, such as YouTube, cough, cough, how can we find you?
I have a channel. It's called Meta Musings of a Multi-Dimensional Mind. I know, I had to pick the longest friggin' name.
Okay.
And then like all my poetry and quotes and things are on Instagram at 4, the number 4, Greta Minds 114. So thank you.
Yeah, and I'll put all that in the description box too. So if people don't know how to do that, I'll put your links in the description box so we can find you and link you. We will be doing more of these discussions to everyone out there. I'm really quickly, actually, I'm going to check the chat because I feel like I've abandoned the chat today. And I'm sorry, guys. I love you. But I want to see if there's any questions or anything that we can just quickly. Oh, Fishy, I love you. Okay. Oh, there's fish in here. Hi, Angel. Hi, Twitty Bursing. Hi, Danielle. Is there any questions? Beginner's mind. Thank you. Woo! We got 19.99 sent from Twitty Bursy. Thank you. Thank you. The Twitty for that. All right. Yay. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'm just scrolling through really see. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, we love you. We are going to sign off for now. We might be back on next week, kind of just honoring flow and honoring quantum current. Please be sure to go check out Mel. And Mel, thank you for showing up and doing this for me. Thank you for being a sister. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a sacred friend. Thank you for being a part of this journey. I'm excited to see what unfolds from this. And I wish everyone out there just a blessed and marvelous day. I'm just going to go ahead and send you waves of love and kisses to everyone out there.